Hi guys, this is Joe here from Rufioh. Hopefully it's not too noisy in the background here. I live right by a crazy road, which is during rush hour currently whilst I record this, so it's possible that that happens. Or of course my dickhead dog might go outside and start barking his ass off like normal, so hopefully none of that. Hopefully we can just get through the profile without anything too crazy going on. So the deck profile I wanted to bring you today is, well, the Dragon Link, Rokket Link, whatever you want to call it, the whole Rokket deck that's just come out. We're taking a small engine from that and we're basically splashing it in with a bunch of dragons and just abusing the shit out of all of the support that's out there. Now, a lot of people are doing this. I've taken inspiration from some other lists I've seen, made a few tweaks for myself. I've tried a few different options over a couple of locals, and this is the build that I've settled on now in the end. I'm quite happy with this, although I may chop it up as time goes on. It seems pretty consistent, and quite often you'll find yourself in a position where you feel like you're going nowhere, and then suddenly it'll just click, because everything's just an extender, so there's always a way to get somewhere with the deck. It's honestly insane. Like, the chances of you bricking completely where you can't play is just it's almost impossible. I've not had a situation where that's come up in the dozen or so games I've played with it, and hopefully that it doesn't happen at all. So I'll go through my current list with you, have a brief talk about why I've chosen what I have chosen, and then we can go on from there. So we start off with Rokket Trace. So this is just going to be like one of the, basically, it's the best rocket monster that you've got in your deck. It's just going to help you search out others. It's going to help you set up other plays, like going into your Boral Savage, and things like that. So it's a good option. We've got Absoluta, which is of course just basically a free body. We've got Silver Rocket for poaching cards out of our opponent's deck. If you want to look more into the details that these have about what they do and that kind of thing, definitely go look these up. You could basically pick up like one copy of the structure deck, by the way, and just get pretty much everything you need for this deck. Well, I say everything you need from a rocket perspective, at least. We've got two copies of Magna Rocket. I just like having the second option here. It just gives me the extra name to go into if I need to. Yeah, just basically that. Much the same with Auto Rocket. Again, it just gives you options and it gives you some back row removal, that kind of thing. And War Rocket Synchron, again, just another option, something easy to go into, yada yada yada. And of course, targets a level 5 or higher dark monster, in your, dark dragon in your graveyard, and special summons it, which of course can give you some additional boosts going forward. We have triple copies of Soul Eating Oviraptor. So Oviraptor is like one of the most important cards that you want to see in this deck. You've got 3 ways to get into it, and 3 copies of Fossil Dig as well to help you see it, which means you've got a total of 6 different ways to see a Soul Eating Oviraptor. And if you resolve this, most of the time your opponent doesn't realise what they're playing against unless they're like kind of savvy and know what's coming. And they just let it go through because they're like, whatever, I'll just ash the pill. And then they realise it's not a pill that's coming, and they're usually in a little bit more trouble. It's usually too late at that stage for them to do anything because you've normally got other ways to do it. Quite often I'll open this and a Fossil Dig, and I'll use the Fossil Dig to bait any ashes or any negations that they've got, and just hope that they can't push through with their own plays from there. We have 1 copy of Miscellaneousaurus. I think 1 is absolutely sufficient. You basically just use it to search Jirac Aeolo. It also gives you protection, so quite a lot of the time what I'll do is I'll go Soul Eating Oviraptor, discard the Miscellaneousaurus that I'm going to search off it, and then get the Aeolo out, just in case they try and do anything kind of funky to interrupt me in any way. It just helps protect my board a little bit. Of course, the 1 copy of Aeolo, you definitely don't want to see this in your hand. You want to search it. It's probably the one that gets used least, but it's almost like your backup plan for when you can't get into your Carbonedon play. We have 1 copy of Flame Volgard. This is, of course, the card that you absolutely just abuse in this deck. It's insane how much you summon this like 4 or 5 times in one turn. It's dumb. We have 1 copy of Alexandrite Dragon. This is just another target for you. There's a couple of times that this has come up. Just being a beat stick for me is really handy. So that is a thing to consider as well. We have 1 copy of Carbonedon. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. You're going to send this off your Soul Eating Oviraptor and banish it to go into your Flame Volgard. You have 1 copy of Wild Chalice Guardragon. This you absolutely do not want to see in your hand either. This is going to be your main search off your Ib. Again, to just keep abusing those plays and going forward. It's a really, really cool card, but definitely not one you want to see without searching it. We've got 1 Red MD. This has become like the default to go to search off your LP. It just continues your free plays going just like insane. And if you already see it in your hand, there are some other targets that you can go into as well. But this card is absolutely dumb, and don't be surprised if it gets hit on the next list. We have 1 copy of Tempest. Tempest is a really, really cool card. I'm really happy that they brought this back. It's not too insane to the point where, like, maybe it should still be banned. I don't think it should. I think it's just really, really strong. And in this kind of deck, it is just really, like, dumb. You just dump this into the grave in any way you can. It's just a free body on board every time. We have one copy of Levin here. This is really good for going second place, but if you do go first and you happen to see it, or you've already opened the red MD, you can search this off your Bro Tour, and it gives you another way to like rip into your opponent's plays and that kind of thing. Just really, really cool. And of course, if you do end up going second, you've got a way to break boards. We have one copy of the Strudo. This comes up so much. This card is dumb. It's so good. It's a really important card in the deck, but of course, you don't want to see it in your hand. You want to be able to dump it as easy as possible. We have plenty of ways to do that in this deck. We have one Bro Tour. This is essentially your second option after Red MD in almost all occasions. It's very, very rare that I summon this first. Maybe I'm doing that wrong, but I find it just never comes up as much. However, if I open the Red MD, I can just search this instead and go through my plays that way. And we have two copies of Ash Blossom. These could be substituted for other things. You could maybe run a couple of more extenders instead. I like just having the option to be able to negate my opponent's plays on their turn. If I am forced to go second, I've got an option. And weirdly, this deck plays really, really well going second. Like, way better than I would have expected. Because if they don't open hand traps and they're built to go first, then you're going to muller them anyway. It's not a problem. We have triple copies of Quick Launch. This is now a common in the structure deck, so again, if you're looking to go out and get those, that's definitely a way to do it. It's just a free body on board. It's just a free extender like every other card in this deck. It's just going to help you get another body on board that you can then abuse and go through your plays that way. So we've got triple copies of that there. We've got triple copies of Fossil Dig. This is just, again, going to help you see those Oviraptors. It maybe will help you see a Miscellaneousaurus instead if you need it, and that kind of thing, but rarely you're going to get anything else from it from that perspective anyway. You're not going to search the others, certainly not normally. We have triple copies of Call by the Grave. This is really, really good to help protect your plays. I know a few people have been omitting these, however, hand traps really hurt the pinch points of this deck. There's still a few areas where the deck can be choked. Stopping the id plays really, really hurts, getting those like ashed or anything like that. So this is just going to help you continue through your plays. And worst case scenario, if they don't interrupt you, you can then interrupt them during their turn. And then if you go in second, of course, it can give you options to help make your plays and stop them getting interrupted going into a second position. We have one copy of World Legacy Secession. I think one is absolutely fine. I've seen a few builds running multiple copies of this and multiple copies of Guardragon, but I just really like the one. It's absolutely fine. It's just another free body on board. Really, really easy considering most of the deck is built up of links anyway once you go through our plays. We have one copy of World Legacy Guardragon. So this is going to help you, again, just keep getting that Flameful Guard out. And it can also help you shift some of your links if you need to a different position, which can come in really, really handy if some of your plays get stopped. We have one copy of Dragon Ravine. Again, I just like the one. I don't want to open this. I just want to be searching it off Romulus. So having just the one is absolutely fine. We have another copy of Foolish Burial and Dragon Shrine. I say another copy because essentially these three cards here all do the same thing. They're going to dump either your Tempest or they're going to dump your Destrudo. That's almost certainly what's going to happen every time with this. So that's what these three are here for. So yeah, just one of each of these options is more than enough. You're going to usually see one of these in your opening hand, and if not, one of them is searchable anyway off your Romulus. And we have double copies of Super Polis. This was an idea again I'd seen from another video, so full credit goes out. It was actually MST's video. I really, really like this option actually. This has come up really, really handy because quite a lot of the time the deck loses to Super Poly like really, really hard. Your ending board just gets mullered by it. You find yourself in a really bad position, and quite often you'll find that if you open this, you've got a way to claw back your plays. Your opponent will set up a board, and then you can just Super Poly their cards and go into Starving Venom, or of course sometimes you can go into Borrowload Furious, just depending on what kind of deck your opponent's playing. And of course, depending on what they're playing, sometimes you can take advantage of just tying up their whole board going second. And worst case scenario, if you go first, it becomes another interrupt. And that is it for the main deck. I have toyed with Phantasma in there. I'm still not sold as to whether I want to keep it in or not, because I kind of like sticking to 40. The consistency is really, really nice. A lot of people will run less Rockets, and that's absolutely fine. That's entirely up to you if you want to do that. I quite like having the small engine and the availability of them, certainly just for another body on board if nothing else, and the fact that it enables some of your other plays a little bit easier. And then we move on to the extra deck. I think that this is pretty standard. There's not a whole lot that you can change in here. There are one or two options, I guess, that you could play with, but it's pretty tight. It's much like the Thunder Dragon extra deck. So we've got one copy of Ib. This is like the most important engine in your deck. This gets all of your plays going. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane card. We have one copy of Hot Red just for the negate. I know some people have talked about playing some of the other synchros and that kind of thing, just so that they're not dark and it's less susceptible to the Super Poly. But I just find this is just way stronger, and it's such a good option that sometimes you have to take the fact that they may Super Poly you just on the chin. We have one copy of Borrowload Savage. Quite often you're going to end on this with the 4 negates because you're going to have the Sayudra attached to it, and it's going to be absolutely massive. We have one copy of Borrello Furious. Just being able to pop 2 cards in the field is really, really nice, especially when it's going to trigger off the effects of your Rokkets a lot of the time. It's also just a big body on board. It's really, really good. Going in second, it's quite cool. And against pendulums and things where they're ending with, where they're getting stuff like their, Dark Dragons, Dark Worm on the field, it's a good way to wrap them up. One copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This is really, really solid going into any deck that plays Darks, which is, well, the vast majority of them. So it gives you options going into an awful lot of decks. And if nothing else, you can type your own monsters if they get super polyed too. We have one copy of Psy-Frame Lord Lambda. This could be beat cop, I guess. But this has the fringe benefit of if you do decide to run the Psy package, Gamma and Driver and stuff, then you've got that option there. But yeah, I really like this. And again, the fact that it's a light sometimes comes up with your Legionnaire if you want to be able to pop cards and that kind of thing. Yeah, just a second option is really nice. Yeah. B-Cop's another option, but I would stick with this for now. We have the Guardragon package. These are just broken, pretty self-explanatory. It's what this makes this whole deck tick, is the fact that once you get these out on board, you generate a ton of free advantage. Just really, really nuts. We have one copy of Romulus. It's super, super easy to make. It's going to help us search our Dragon Ravine and get our plays going. Dump Tempest into Grave or Destrudo, depending on which you prefer at the time. We have one copy of Triple Burst. This is really, really good anyway, but this just helps give you another route to go through your plays if you find yourself stuck or short of options. If you get yourself hand-trapped a ton of times, this is going to sometimes help you see through those plays you might not have otherwise. And again, it's just really good against stuff like Striker and that kind of thing. We have one copy of Hierarch Seal. This is where Phantasma can be kind of good because you can search it out of the deck with this and just stop your opponent having targeting options, but just getting any of the dragons on board is just nice anyway. We have one copy of Appaloosa. This is just insane. Line Darkness Dragon in Link form, as close as we're ever going to get to it again anyway. Just a really, really cool card. Definitely a must-have in this deck, in my opinion. We have one copy of Sayuja. Sayuja is just... It says draw 4. It says draw 4. It says you can special summon an extra monster, and it gives everything tons of extra attack. We already know how strong this card is. I don't need to go on about it. And we have one copy of Borrelsaw, just for if we're going second and we need to play through boards. Sometimes even ending on this going first is not the worst thing in the world. You can interrupt your opponent by switching stuff to defense mode and that kind of thing. It's kind of a weak play, but it gives you an option, which sometimes, if you find yourself backed into a corner, this can give you a way out of things. But it's a win button against most decks, and yeah, we already know that. Now, I haven't covered the side deck here again, just because I think that they are pretty much dependent on your local meta and the kind of things that you're going to be playing against. Of course, if you go into regionals, you're going to prep for those higher end meta decks and maybe the odd quirky rogue deck that's got a little bit of strength going about it, but for the most part they're kind of just your own flavour, really, I would say. So I haven't touched on the side deck. Like I say, this is a pretty tight build so far, the extra deck especially. The main deck, there are still one or two things I'm sort of playing about with and tweaking. I really like having the small rocket engine about the size that it is. Some people prefer to play way less, some people are not playing them at all. I prefer to have them in there, just my personal opinion. But the deck is super consistent. Most of this can be picked up insanely cheap, apart from the Oviraptors, but you should really have these by now already, guys. Come on. We already know how the prices on this thing play up, and Legionnaire maybe, but I guess Legionnaire, you can kind of omit it. It's not like critical to the deck's function. It's just a really good card to have in there. So like I said, most of this can be done on a budget for the most part. If you do want to play a more consistent, more pricier version, then this is the kind of route you want to go down, and this is just insane, guys. It just goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. It can outgrind a lot of those top decks, and if you build a going first board, it's much like the Crusadia, Thunder Dragon, that kind of thing. Very, very similar in a lot of style to that deck, but I feel it actually just continues to go that little bit more, which is why I'm now playing the deck. It has a few more choke points, but it's something that I'm really enjoying playing. Hopefully you guys are going to try this out and enjoy it yourselves. Thank you very much for checking in, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this video. If by chance you haven't had enough of listening to me waffle at you through a video about a children's card game, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are on the screen, or if you're feeling really lazy, you can click the links in the description. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content too. It'll make me smile, I promise. And who can ask for more than that? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.